The cause of death was listed as natural causes due to an undiagnosed heart condition. The medical examiner disagreed, identifying a lethal dose of digoxin in the deceased's bloodstream, thereby concluding that the cause of death was poisoning by a poisonous substance identified through toxicological analysis. This case highlights the critical distinction between what the evidence revealed and what had been initially reported. Upon autopsy, an unusually high concentration of cardiac glycosides was detected, indicative of acute digoxin toxicity. Further examination uncovered no pre-existing heart disease that would explain natural causes. The medical examiner's subsequent investigation into the deceased's environment and recent activities provided additional clues, leading to a reclassification of the death as a result of deliberate poisoning rather than an undiagnosed medical condition. Further examination uncovered no pre-existing heart disease that would explain natural causes. Chapter: Case background. The incident under investigation occurred on October 17th in a suburban residence located at 1456 Elmwood Avenue, Springfield, Illinois. The initial report was made by a neighbor who noticed unusual activity and an alarming odor emanating from the property. Upon arrival, law enforcement observed that the front door of the house had been left ajar with signs of forced entry, suggesting potential tampering. Inside, first responders found the deceased in a state of apparent distress within the living room, exhibiting symptoms such as cyanosis and constricted pupils. The local medical examiner was promptly called to assess the situation due to the suspicious nature of the scene. Initial observations indicated that the deceased had been lying on the floor near an overturned cup, which contained a dark liquid residue. Given the presence of these indicators, investigators suspected poisoning, but required further toxicological analysis to determine the exact cause of death and identify any potential toxins involved. Chapter: Initial findings upon arrival at the residence. First responders noted a strong chemical odor emanating from within the dwelling. The deceased was found supine on the living room floor, exhibiting signs of respiratory distress with cyanosis around the lips and fingertips. There were no visible external injuries or defensive wounds present upon initial assessment. No evidence of trauma was observed during this preliminary inspection. The scene displayed no signs of forced entry or struggle, leading to an initial classification of manner of death as undetermined pending further toxicology analysis. Given the presence of chemical fumes and the lack of apparent physical trauma, first responders suspected poisoning and immediately collected environmental samples for laboratory testing. This suspicion was reinforced by the deceased's atypical posture and the absence of any blunt or sharp force injuries, indicating a need for more detailed forensic examination to determine the cause of death. Chapter: Forensic investigation. Upon examination of the scene, multiple vials containing a clear liquid were identified on the kitchen counter alongside empty pill bottles lacking labels. These items were collected and documented as potential evidence for toxicological analysis. A glass with residual liquid was also found near the deceased's body, which was carefully preserved to determine its composition. Notably, no security cameras or witnesses were present at the residence to provide additional context. The chain of custody was meticulously maintained from collection through transportation to the forensic laboratory, ensuring integrity and preventing contamination. Additionally, a sealed envelope containing an undated handwritten note addressed to the beloved was discovered in the deceased's pocket. It did not contain any direct references to poisoning, but was nonetheless secured as evidence for further examination. The chain of custody was meticulously maintained from collection through transportation to the forensic laboratory, ensuring integrity and preventing contamination. The toxicological analysis was conducted to identify the presence of potentially lethal substances in the deceased system. Blood and urine samples were collected for comprehensive screening using high-performance liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry, HPLC-MS/MS. This method was employed due to its sensitivity and specificity. capable of detecting low levels of toxins across a broad panel encompassing common poisons such as organophosphates, heavy metals, and cyanide. Histological examination revealed renal tubular necrosis, consistent with acute kidney injury, indicative of recent toxin exposure. Microscopic analysis of liver tissue sections showed evidence of centrilobular necrosis and steatosis, suggesting hepatotoxicity. Quantitative analysis detected a concentration of 120 ng/ml of digoxin in the blood, surpassing established toxic thresholds for cardiac glycoside poisoning. These findings corroborate the presence of digoxin as the causative agent in the deceased's demise. The forensic examination revealed a series of events leading to the ingestion of a poisonous substance by the deceased. Analysis of stomach contents indicated recent consumption of a meal containing traces of digitalis, corroborated by toxicological findings. Time of death estimates were refined through entomological evidence and decomposition stages observed at the scene. The postmortem interval was determined with high confidence to be approximately 12 hours based on necropsy findings and fly activity patterns. This timeline confirmed that ingestion occurred roughly 2 hours before death, aligning with witness statements of the deceased's last meal. It also contradicted earlier hypotheses suggesting suicide or accidental poisoning, due to the presence of multiple defensive wounds indicating a struggle prior to ingestion, likely forced by another party involved in the incident. Upon analysis of tissue samples and gastric contents, the presence of strychnine was confirmed through gas chromatography mass spectrometry. This finding is significant as it establishes a definitive link between the toxicological evidence and the cause of death. The strychnine concentration in both organs and stomach lining exceeded lethal thresholds, indicating an acute poisoning event. Forensic pathologists observed characteristic signs of violent convulsions consistent with strychnine toxicity, corroborating toxicological findings. Expert testimony would confirm these results as conclusive evidence of intentional poisoning due to the high specificity of strychnine detection methods and the absence of natural causes for such symptoms. While the exact method of administration remains speculative, expert opinion can confidently rule out accidental ingestion or environmental exposure given the circumstances and the substance's nature. Chapter Resolution. The central finding of this case is that the deceased's death was caused by poisoning due to a lethal dose of strychnine, an alkaloid compound known for its intense neuromuscular irritant properties. The initial toxicology screening revealed the presence of multiple substances, including common over-the-counter medications and illicit drugs, leading to an inconclusive primary assessment regarding the cause of death. Further analysis utilizing gas chromatography mass spectrometry, GCMS, identified strychnine as the causative agent in significantly elevated levels. This evidence conclusively linked the lethal dose to the deceased's acute neuromuscular dysfunction and subsequent respiratory failure. The toxicological report substantiated this conclusion through comparative data from known strychnine poisonings, confirming that the levels found were sufficient to cause death within a short time frame. The identification of strychnine as the causative agent necessitated a reevaluation of the initial findings, focusing on potential sources and methods of administration. This shift clarified the sequence of events leading to the deceased's demise, emphasizing the importance of comprehensive toxicological analysis in forensic pathology investigations. This case underscores the critical role of comprehensive toxicological analysis in identifying and quantifying substances present in a deceased system, ensuring accurate cause determination. It highlights the necessity for meticulous collection and preservation of evidence to uphold judicial integrity. The file remains open,